Hey everybody, welcome back to the RoofRevenue.ai podcast. I'm your host, David, and today is July 17th, 2025. And as promised yesterday, I have with me here my good friend Scott, co-founder of RoofRevenue.ai. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. It's been great building this platform with you, and I'm excited to have you on board to help explain all these economic principles to our listeners. So thank you so much for being here and doing that today. We have three topics in mind. One is asset classes. Two is definitions of terms in the financial world that homeowners may not know, or even property owners may not know when it relates to electricity and solar panels. And also the third topic, which is actually looking at an example product. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Perfect.
Awesome. So the first area is asset classes. You were telling me that solar is, in a way, a unique asset class. Can you define asset classes and then why solar is unique?
I think one way that people, a little bit different way of looking at solar, that typically people kind of look at, oh, here's a product I could buy for my home. Is it going to save me money, or is it going to give me energy independence? What's this product that I should buy, like any other purchase for my home? But actually, if you kind of look at your entire financial portfolio together, you have a variety of asset classes that you invest in. You've got your retirement investments, you've got your real estate investments. Retirement is broken up between equities and bonds, and small cap and large cap inside of the equities. And solar is a unique thing, very unique thing that you can invest in your home, in that it is an investment that you make into your home that actually generates cash for you every month for the life of the system. And it's warranted for 25 years and it's operational for 30 or more. So, and it costs a lot of money too. Like so you've got, if you look at where you choose to allocate your money, here we have a investment that, and like any investment, has an upfront amount of money you put in, and then it generates cash flow at a time. So it's not really a product. It's better looked at as, what are the variety of things that I invest in that give me return over time? And if we look at it that way, we can talk about asset classes as to, okay, if it is an investment, what kind of asset class should I think about this investment being? Is it a high return investment? Is it a low and slow investment? What is it? So,
right. And which class did we find that was most comparable, would you say?
So another thing that's unique about solar, in terms of your investments that you have a choice to invest in, is that you look at what this is. This is replacing something that you're never going to stop needing for the next 30 years. You have no plan to not use electricity over the 30 years. So the risk of you not needing this product is really zero over the next 30 years. And if you look at, is it actually going to do what it says? There's always a performance risk for any investment. Like, is it going to go bankrupt, this company that I'm trying to invest in, or something? And the system is warranted to perform as designed for 25 years. And the companies that are offering these warranties have an insurance company backing them up. So if you look at the fine print of your warranty, which you should, of your solar installer, you'll see that the installer is warranting their labor for maybe 10 years on the system, that they're not going to put holes in your roof or something that was due to their labor. But the equipment is warranted for 25 years, not only by the company, and of course, is this company going to be around for 25 years? Well, to address that issue, they actually get an insurance company to underwrite the warranty obligation that they have contracted for 25 years. So even if your manufacturer were to go out of business, the warranty is still valid for the full period. So that means it's got multiple layers. It's a very safe performance. It's not going to stop working, right? Or go bankrupt in that sense of its ability to generate cash. And it generates it over a 25-year contract. So what other assets have very low risk, very long guaranteed returns, and the answer is something that's very safe, like a government bond. A government bond has very low risk. You can buy a 30-year bond, and that's essentially what you're doing here. Another unique feature about solar is that what you're buying when you buy the cash flow that it generates for you each month, that is a tax-free cash flow because it's a savings on your energy bill. You're using less of the grid energy in sort of a net metering context. And so therefore you don't have to pay money on this income. Unlike if you just were to go out in a non-retirement account and invest in a bond, well, that's income. You have to pay federal tax on that income. And so you actually need to look at the after-tax return of that bond and compare that to the solar investment. So there's really no other investment out there besides a government bond that's got the attributes that solar has: safe, guaranteed, long-term.
Very interesting. And you mentioned it can be a big investment. And today we're going to look at the financials of a cash-only deal. And it's also true there are loans, and even with a loan to buy the solar equipment, you would also have really good returns, right? We're going to talk about the loans in more detail in another episode, but today we'll talk about the cash returns or cash investment and the returns coming from that. Is it also true? I'm kind of a little bit newer at the securities being bonds and stocks and everything. Some have dividends, but bonds don't have dividends, right? It's just you wait 30 years before you get anything back. Is that correct?
No, most bonds have an annual yield. So they're paying a coupon. It's often called a coupon or a yield. Okay. That they're paying you annually for that. And that's what we look at when you look at what is the comparable yield on a bond. You'll see that currently the 30-year bond, just in the news this week, it touched 5%. So it's been on the way up. Long-term interest rates have been on the way up, touched 5%. So you can invest in a 30-year government bond and get a 5% pre-tax return. After tax, subtract say 25% tax rate on that, and what you'd get a 3.75% after tax return on investing in a totally safe bond. So really, sometimes we kind of have an issue with people investing in solar, and they think like, oh, well, that return's not high enough. Like, well, there's things that have a lot of risk that you can put it in Bitcoin, and maybe it'll double in the next 3 months. But that is not the same risk profile as investing in solar. So it's really not apples to apples. And that's why I say you have to look at your whole portfolio to say, look, this is appropriate for me to take some of my money and put it into a long-term safe return. And so my other money, I might put in a more speculative high return stuff. But when you're layering your financial life, you want to kind of build from the bottom up, and this really is appropriate to consider as one of your core foundational level investments that give you returns over a long period of time.
Fantastic. Thanks for all that context. So there's a bunch of other terms you want to talk about. Maybe it's best to talk about those as we actually look at the cash flow for a given house. How does that sound?
I think it's appropriate. I mean, I think it's like most podcasts are not going to jump into a spreadsheet because it seems like scary. Nobody wants to see spreadsheets, but I do think that it takes a little bit of the sort of talking head babbling about, oh, solar is good, out of it to say like, well, it's pretty easy to quantify. The elements that you want to qualify is how much energy does it produce for you, and how much energy does it produce for you each year. So that's what we have is that second column, solar kilowatt hours. This is the kilowatt hours that this selected system that we have is going to be generating every year. And you'll see that the numbers are different every year. they actually go down by 0.5% a year. So solar panels have degradation over time. They get like little microscopic cracks in them, which makes the electrons flow just a little less than 100% compared to last year. And this is part of the performance warranty that the manufacturer does. The manufacturer guarantees that our panels will lose no more than 0.5% is the typical amount. They're getting better. Some are doing, starting to take decimal places off that on their warranty. And so you see that it produces 0.5% less each year, but that's the design. We know that when we do it, and that's how we start our spreadsheet. And then we know that you're going to get paid for the energy, or you're going to either have net metering savings, or you're going to, in the case of Austin Energy, we have a little bit different than net metering structure. They actually pay you for all your production, and they call that payment the value of solar. It is the value of the electricity that's produced at that time of day to the utility company. And that's what we're showing is the value of solar. And the value of solar, since it is the value of the electricity, the value of that production to the utility company, it's going to be subject to normal market inflation that the utility company is experiencing. Utility rates are going to be rising, over the next 25 years, a little bit every year. And the reason why is because the costs of the utility company rise. So their payment for again, we're doing this Austin Energy value of solar example. The value of your production to the utility company will go up each year approximately by the same amount. And Austin Energy has a formula by which they generate that number.
Awesome. And how does that turn into revenue for us?
Question, did you mean to stop sharing the spreadsheet?
Oh, did my computer do
Yeah,
that? I apologize. It's been kind of behaving a little strange lately. Let me reshare.
So the value that we get is just the kilowatt hours we produce times the price that the utility is paying us for that production. And that's solar revenue. So it's column B times column C equals solar revenue. So if we're investing in a system, the installer is going to give us the installed price. 30% of that price, if you get it installed before the end of the year, December 31, 2025, you'll get 30% of that price as an investment tax credit on your tax return. If you install in Austin Energy territory, you'll also get a $2,500 incentive from Austin Energy for a residential solar system. They have that program going right now. So you'll get 30% plus $2,500 off your system if you do it by the end of the year. So you see those two incentives right there, the $2,500 and the $10,000 is 30% of $32,000 investment. So this example has a system that costs $32,000 to invest in, and we get back those incentives. We have an estimate for cleaning, just to be very reasonable, that you're going to clean the panels, keep them clean, a couple of times a year, whatever's appropriate for your area. Austin's not too bad. There's kind of some pollen problems in the spring where pollen from oak trees or something might kind of, pollen's a little bit sticky, so it's nice to clean after pollen season, but Austin's not too bad in terms of needing cleaning. And if you take the revenue you get from the utility minus the incentives and tax credits, we've represented the investment as a negative cash outflow there, $32,000 that you have to spend out, and all the money that you get back are positive numbers. And so your net investment at the end of year one, after you've sold the electricity for year one, you've gotten your Austin Energy utility incentive is $27,000. We're assuming that it's going to be the next calendar year that you get your $10,603 ITC, investment tax credit, back on your tax return. That actually might be in the first year, depending on what time of year you do it. I guess in this case, we're in the second half of 2025. So yeah, it would be April of next year that you file your taxes. So putting these pieces together, we look at our net cash flow column. So in terms of financial return, what is solar? People say you might see, I've seen advertisements on social media, solar installers saying, is solar worth it? Or how much is your roof worth? Or other questions like this. Like, really, it's building column I that answers that question. And this is why we kind of thought it's worth it to just go ahead and show you a spreadsheet of how solar works. Is that it's all about estimating the kilowatt hours that you're going to produce, knowing that that's going to be a little bit less every year, knowing that the value of what you produce is going to go up every year because of the inflation that the utility, inflation environment that the utility's in. And when you put these all together, here's the cash flow. So how much did we invest and how much do we get out? That's going to lead us to our several different measures that we can use to describe this is our financial performance. And so all of these different financial performances that we see here are, people highlight different ones in their description of solar, and they might focus on one more than another. It's all an effort to sort of which one is going to capture your attention the most and will lead someone to a yes. But I think, like right off the bat, we know, go back over to the the column C there, the value of solar. I guess we don't really show the cost of retail cost of electricity from Austin Energy right now. This is just the 9.9 cents that they are currently paying for the value of solar for any solar production. But their retail price on electricity, if you look at your bill, if you're in Austin Energy territory, you'll see you're paying on average about 12 cents for your energy. And I wanted to compare that to this financial performance figure called LCOE. So LCOE is the lifetime cost of energy, the lifetime cost of electricity. So, it's levelized cost of electricity. So what this means is, let's just take a levelized view of how much you invested and how much electricity you get out of that investment. So we take your net investment, including your tax rebate. That's how much of your own cash you put into the system. And we look at how much electricity is it going to be generated by that investment. Well, it's going to last 25 years or more. We've got 25 years shown here. The 25 years of electricity that you get, that many kilowatt hours. Take your investment divided by how many kilowatt hours is dollars per kilowatt hour. Dollars per kilowatt hour from the utility is 12 cents a kilowatt hour. And that's going to go up every year from that point in time. Right here we have the levelized cost of electricity from the solar system is 4 cents a kilowatt hour. So you can rent electricity from the utility at 12 cents a kilowatt hour, or you can make the investment and generate your own electricity for a levelized 25-year cost of electricity of 4 cents a kilowatt hour. Right there, it's a good investment. There's other ways to do so. 12 cents versus 4 cents. Now, I'm comparing money over time when we do that, because we had to invest up front and we got the kilowatt hours over time. So what's a little bit not fair about the levelized cost of energy view of things is that it doesn't take into account the fact that our benefit comes in the future. And obviously time value of money, the dollar invested today is worth more than the same dollar received later on in the future. So IRR, the internal rate of return, is a way to take into account the time value of money. The internal rate of return, people are using it more these days. It sounds a little financial, but what it does is it also levelizes, but in a time value of money sort of way. It says, okay, if I had to invest money up front and then I got these cash flows over this many years, what would be the annual, sort of like the average annual return on investment that I got over the 25 years, taking into account that I had to invest today and I didn't get year one revenue until the end of year one. I didn't get year two revenue until 2 years after the investment, et cetera, out 25 years. And this says that we have essentially a yield on our investment of 10.5%.
An annual yield.
An annualized yield. So this would be like in looking at the pre-tax yield of a 30-year safe investment. What are you getting? Back to what we said before, on a 30-year government bond, after tax, you're getting a 5% return minus tax. You're getting a under 4% return on that. Why is it so low? Well, because it's a completely safe investment, and competitive markets have set the price right there. That is an appropriate return for a safe return. So we're getting a really large difference in that return. So I think this is a really appropriate way to evaluate whether or not solar is a good investment for me, is for the part of my portfolio that I would like to be safe. Should I invest in a 10.5% yield? And a CD won't do it, and a government bond won't do it. And anything that anybody who's promising you a 10% return, it's not completely risk-free like this one is. So I think these two numbers together really powerfully show the value of solar. And I think that people aren't served that well if we jump to the end of that row by payback in years. This is the same number. A 10.49% yield on your investment is the same thing as a payback in 9.6 years. Right? If it was a 10% return per year without compounding, then it would take you 10 years to get 100% of your money back. So that's why 9.6 years fits in with the 10.49. And people might say, I don't know, I feel like payback in years comes up for people to feel like that's not good enough. Well, I'd like to invest in something that gives me my money back in 4 years. Okay, yeah, I would too. But this is not only going to give you all your money back in 9.6 years, it's going to keep giving you money for another 15 years beyond that. And that's not captured in the number 9.6. It just feels like, well, I have to wait a long time to get my money back. But you don't really think that way when you invest in a bond that yields 10%. You're like, hey, it's a pretty good investment. It's safe. I get a 10% return. Or a CD that yields you, 4.5% on a 12-month CD. You'd be like, yeah, it's not bad. I know I'm going to have my money back. I got 4.5%, but you don't say, what's my payback in years on that CD? And so I think it gets some of the thinking about the value thrown a little bit off track. And this has traditionally been a real go-to statistic in the solar industry. Okay, another simple way of looking is, you might hear cash on cash return. We have 202% here. All that means is that cash on cash means cash in and cash out. Again, this is not this doesn't take into account the time value of money. That cash that I get back is spread across the future. So it's actually worth less because I have to wait years to get it. But this is just a simple weighing. It's like, look, I put in a net $27,000 investment, and I'm going to get, 200% of that figure back over time.
I just want to clarify, it's more like a net $22,000 investment or less. We don't have
I was just looking at our top of the column, net cash flow 27.
that's in year one, and then
Oh,
take
yeah,
total 32 and you subtract the
exactly.
twelve
Yeah,
you're getting back. So
you're right. The
32
net
minus
investment. Yeah, you can just click on
15.
those three numbers and they will, if you hold down the shift key and click on the 32 as well, and that gives you, and we should throw that, almost. Well, it's 20, as you said, it's $20,000. It's 20,000 was our net investment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that's cash on cash return. That's cool. And then we have these two here. What are these two, Scott?
So this is the net present value is something that's often used on corporate projects to evaluate whether or not a project returns more money than the cost of investing in that project. And so it's certainly a very common financial metric. It's not quite, I think, as useful in sort of a residential investment perspective. But basically what it says is like, okay, we know some of this money comes in the future. We have to invest money today. We get money in the future. There's a cost to having, to waiting for money to come in the future. And the discount rate reflects that cost. The discount rate is supposed to be, what are you foregoing? What is your cost of money that you had to forego to invest in this project? And so if this project returns more than your cost of obtaining the money to invest in this project, then it's a net present value positive project. And basically you should invest in every project that returns more than your cost of money to get this project. So in this case, discount rate of 5% means we are comparing it to, we could invest in another safe investment that would give us 5%, or we could, really in a corporate context, they say we could borrow at 5%, but in a residential, I think it's more like, what are you giving up instead of investing in solar? So we're giving up another safe investment like a bond. This project yields returns that are greater than the cost or the opportunity cost of investing in it by $11,000. So you are adding $11,000 to your personal balance sheet, your personal financial position, because you've invested in cash flows that are returning 10%, and your alternative investment was 5%. So the $11,705 represents the difference between the 10.49 we are getting versus the 5% that we could have been getting, and multiply that times the amount of money over time and net present value. So if your return equals your opportunity cost of 5%, if the IRR were 5% and your cost of money is 5%, obviously the net present value is 0. It's just, you got 5%, it costs you 5%. You're neutral on whether or not you do this investment.
Excellent. So any positive number for NPV is a good investment, and it's a result of the IRR being higher than the discount rate.
Yep.
Excellent. That's super helpful. I think we covered many of the things here on this tab of the spreadsheet. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we move on?
Well, I just say like this is kind of the toolkit that you'll see on any solar proposal will be some mixture of these. They'll also show you the graph of your consumption and your production and whether they match or don't match. We've just focused here on what is the value of the electricity that this solar investment generates and what does it cost for you, and just simplifying it down instead of comparing it net to your household energy consumption. That's valuable to look at, and we can do that on another podcast about look at that view of a solar investment. Right here, we just boiled it down to say, what does it cost and what's the value of what it generates for me? And of course, these numbers will be customized for any system, because right, a panel pointed to the south is going to generate more than a panel that's not quite pointed in the optimal direction. You're going to get a little less kilowatt hours per year out of a panel that a roof alignment goes a little bit different. Different panels have different outputs.
That's an excellent segue to take a look at our website and maybe look at a couple of addresses and compare.
Yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and put an address in. You had one in mind.
Is that 4503?
4503.
Shoalwood. So this is just a random house. It's not even a house of anyone we know, but I wanted to highlight this because it's 2-story. It's got a south-facing roof. It's got some shade issues, right? There's a big tree. This view, we're looking at the house from the southern, mostly the southern perspective. I guess it is the southern perspective. So we're going to have some morning, some east. The sun comes up on the right-hand side, and it's going to set on the left-hand side of this picture. And so there's going to be some morning shade issues, but you're in the afternoon, it's going to be just right there in the sun in the afternoon, getting full sun all the way through the second half of the day there. So it's not, and you see the roof is, because it's 2-story, the roof is sort of not huge compared to the square footage, because when you stack square footage on top of each other, your roof is smaller compared to your total air conditioned area. So I wouldn't guess that this house is going to be able to do more than 100% of their total consumption. You know, maybe they could do, who knows, 60% of their consumption or something. But as we saw in the other spreadsheet, it doesn't really matter if they could only do 60 for the money that they're investing to get that 60%. That they're getting a great return on that money that's invested. And, you know, yeah, sure, you wish you could produce more on your own roof, but that's the size of your roof. You can only get that much. So is it worth doing? Yeah, even though it's not. That's another thing that I think people get a little sidetracked for, is like, oh, I can only do half my consumption with my solar quote came in, and they can only do half my consumption. Like, it doesn't matter. Is it a good investment for the money you are investing?
Excellent. And so the revenue, the 25-year roof revenue for this property, we estimate as around $60,000, as you can see here. So anybody at home watching can go ahead and go over to roofrevenue.ai, type in any address as we've just done, and it will calculate this number. And then the other numbers relative to the return, we're happy to chat with you about, because prices vary by state, both the installation cost and the kilowatt hour cost by utility. And because there are different financing options such as cash or loan or lease, then what we can do when you contact us is we'll customize a solar system to get you the best return for where you're at and where your building is at. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for taking a look at that with us today, Scott. And if you're wondering who else we're doing this for, we've evaluated about 1,500 properties here in the Austin area and shown that those roofs have a potential of about $150 million of revenue from their roofs. So it's quite substantial what solar panels can do for property owners. I'm going to go ahead and end the screen share, and we can start to wrap up. Scott, thanks so much for your time today on the podcast. Did you have any other things you want to let people know?
Well, you know, at this stage, unfortunately, we have to emphasize, as you saw on the bottom of I hadn't seen that update where you did work days. There's only 111 work days,
right,
as of today, left in the residential 30% investment tax credit. And so the next 111 days are the best 111 days to get a solar system installed.
Right. We can talk about that a little bit more. That sounds good. So here we are in July. It doesn't end till December. 6 months seems like a lot of time, except we have Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and Halloween
And
day and every other
December weather.
right? And we also have, you know, I guess, do you have an update on, does the system have to be PTO to qualify or just installed? And we'll talk about what that means for everybody listening here in a second.
I think it's PTO.
Okay, so it takes about, depending on where you live in the country, it can take a month or 2 months for the utility and the building permit organization in your town to allow you to turn on your solar system. So that's what we call PTO, or permission to operate. And so ideally, we only have until October to basically sign these agreements, get these systems installed, get them up and running. So it's like, can you expand a little bit more on what you said now is the best time? Because I've been thinking about that. Why is now the best time to get solar? I know we talked
Well,
about.
sometimes, you know, you would hear people try to make, you know, try to put a time deadline on act now, you know, and it's like, yeah, can I really have to act now? Or you know, but this is black and white, according to the beautiful big bill that was just passed, that they want to get rid of the residential tax credit. They left it for some other things. They left it for solar leases. They extended it for commercial solar, has until July 4th of 2026 to start their project. And David, that is the difference, is that the residential has to complete their project by December 31, 2025 for the residential IT investment tax credit. And on the commercial side, it's start your project by 1 year after the signature date, which is July 4th. So July 4th to start a commercial project. So that's how that works. So like right now, as of January 1st, your cost of your system, not from the installer will have the same price, December 31 and January 1st, but you won't get the 30% tax credit on January 1st. So it really doesn't even have anything to do with installer pricing, because the installer never got the tax credit as part of their work. It's the homeowner that got that. And so it's just gone for the homeowner. So it really is a pure 30% price increase on the cost of going solar for residentials on January 1st. There's no the dealer can't really help you out with that.
No wiggle room, as they say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much. We're going to do lots more of these podcasts coming up. So thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have any comments or would like us to talk about anything, we're here for you. Check out our YouTube channel and check out roofrevenue.ai, and we'll see you next episode.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks, David.
Bye-bye. Okay, so that was cool. Shoot. Oh, stop recording. I will have to edit a little.